Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother, before you came in, I mentioned to the group, that before COVID, when we were gathering, at the mosque upstairs, we used to start with Quran, and then Shan and Nuzul of those ayat and a bit of history, of the beginning of Islam. And that time, it was really attracting a lot of people to the group. And then at the end, we had like some Q&As and stuff like that. And I think it might be a good idea, if we could go back to the same setting, because Quran is such a fascinating book, and we always learn so much about it. For example, remember you told us the story of then, when Suhaib, was murdered, and he was one of the elegant men in Medina,
Mus'ab.
and
Mus'ab.
Mus'ab, yeah. And then when he was murdered, there was not even enough clothes, for a shroud, and those other beautiful stories. And I think, that right now, with what is going on around us, there is still such a big need, and you can pick up those ayats, that you deem necessary, So I this is what I was thinking, if we could go back the same setup, it would be great.
I mean, it's always good to Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. It's always good to reflect on the Quran and contemplate. I mean, that's a good idea, definitely. Even though I believe that even if we do that, that's still not going to do the job, because there are two schools or two versions of Islam, or two approaches. One is Islam of wa'ad, admonition. That's the prevalent, that's everywhere, in mosques and social media, TV. It's always people bring verses, bring hadith, bring nice stories, bring etc. It's very unfortunate that the impact of these things is very, very short-lived. Usually it disappears quickly, because it does not change the framework, the way the person thinks. It doesn't change the personality of it doesn't change the priority, the mindset, the way of thinking, etc. This kind of message is very attractive because it's very soothing. That's why those shuyukh who adopt this message are very popular. They're very popular because they basically calm people and tell them, I mean, make them feel comfortable. But it's very unfortunate that's like an energy drink. I mean, you say that in a mosque, the effect of it will disappear on the door of the mosque. What I have been trying to do, it's the other approach, which is to get to the bottom of the mindset, the way, because I believe that the biggest damage that happened to Muslims throughout the centuries, it was not the emotion. They're still emotionally attached to the Quran. They are still emotionally attached to the Prophet. You can see how angry people become when the Prophet is insulted, or when Quran. So people, that emotional part is still there. The biggest damage that happened to Muslims was here. That's number one. And then the personality itself. The personality was really damaged. So people have minds that are messed up, conflicting priorities, visions is not clear. They don't know what they want in this life. They don't have a clear purpose. They don't have clear priorities. They don't have clear vision. Plus, the personality itself was damaged. We can see, unfortunately, the way people behave and interact in the Muslim world does not reflect the teachings of Islam at all. and many other countries are much closer to Islam in the way they behave and the way they interact, much closer than Muslim countries. When it comes to honesty, when it comes to work ethics, when it comes to keeping promises, keeping your word, behaving, observing the law, don't throw things in the street, don't violate the signs and the people. I mean, these are very Islamic values. I mean, this is, but unfortunately nowadays we see them implemented elsewhere, but we don't see them implemented. So I'm with you. I mean, this is the group at one point in time, they wanted to make it like more of interaction and questions and answers. But if this is what we want to do, we can go back and or split the session and have always pick some few verses. And we have been, I think we went, we probably almost finished the first quarter of Quran. Remember, definitely we went through Ma'idah and don't know how far in An'am we went, but that was almost quarter of the Quran. And we went through verse by verse, passage by passage. So we can resume or we can pick verses. Actually, what we have been doing at that time was combination of the two. We were covering the whole Quran, but we slowed down on fundamental verses or foundational verses. And then we move quickly over verses. It's not like they're not, all the Quran is important, but there are verses that are more applicable to our conditions and more relevant to our time. And there are verses that are really foundational. They state fundamental principles of Islam. So we spent more time on those.
I think, brother, that might be a better option, but still.
We can. That's...
I just want to, sorry, I know we don't have a lot of time. Something very, very just, you see, the Prophet, peace be upon him, he was a muhajir. Immigration is the big worldwide problem or issue right now. The Christianity, they have nothing to offer, The Prophet Isa, he never was an immigrant, But our Prophet, our history, it starts with an immigration, the Hijri, right? The year of Hijri Qamari, So I'm just giving you one example, if we could bring, this issue, the way Islam dealt with it, it will be such an amazing, new vision, even for America today. And I don't want to talk anymore. I know time is very limited. So,
I mean, it's, we have lessons in Hijrah. We have how the Prophet ﷺ adopted Medina as his new homeland. And even after the conquest of Mecca, he remained in Medina. That's a very big lesson there. We have lesson in Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, serving the people and the population who basically was very unfair to him and unjust. And then when there was an opportunity, there was time, he offered his expertise and skills to save that nation, even though they mistreated him. But brother and everybody, let's try to refrain from comparison of religion or saying that our religion is better than others or others do not have to offer, because that's really offending. We live in a very pluralistic society. And we, as much as we want people to respect us, we should be respectful to people. Basically, talk about your religion, but let's stay away from comparing it to others, or keep saying that our religion is better and others are wrong, because that's what everybody believes. But there is no need to say it. So, any other questions?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
On this topic, Dr. Ganucci, I just had a long conversation with my optometrist on this topic, but like you said, not to mention that your religion is best. But we were discussing, she said, all religions teach the same thing, but I did not agree with her. And I said, yes, but if there is one God, one message, and all prophets were basically with the same message, then sometimes you do think why there are so many religions. One has to be the truth religion from God. Rest of it is just man-made stuff. And I think she agreed. She didn't say, but I was just projecting. You said not to project your religion as the chosen religion. But I think I have always done that because that is the truth. I mean, I know you have to be diplomatic, but you have to also let people know why there are so many religions, and there must be a reason, and there must be one. All religions cannot be true because they have different philosophies, different aqidas and all that. It has to be one religion which is true. So is there anything you think people get
I mean, it's
turned off?
that discussion makes sense. I mean, it's you have been using logic and that there is only one God, so there should be one message. But again, it's always try not to demonize people's beliefs and religions because it's very sensitive and the reaction can be very negative, and we don't want that. Actually, in our situation here, I prefer, first of all, we should not be like hesitant or reluctant in explaining our religion, and we should be proud of it and not arrogant, but proud and confident. But again, without interfering in others, there is an implicit message is better than explicit. And then focusing on commonalities, focusing on the fact that that many people around us, they don't know. They don't know that we believe in all those messengers, that for us, things are not in parallel, that these messengers, all they came in series, and they were all confirming one another. They all came with the same message. But the only difference is that all previous messages were customized to a certain time and certain nation and certain context. And with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu Allah promised, that's why they were not preserved. And with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu Allah gave us a very comprehensive, very flexible guidance, and he promised to keep it so that there will be no messenger after that. People, they just have to go and try to extract more guidance that can inspire their lives. Lives is changing, and the text is fixed. So the only way we can keep up is through this continuous exercise of ijtihad and fresh understanding and fresh interpretations of verses. But again, it's this idea of trying to convince people that there is only that God by definition can only be one, because if he is the creator of everything, if his attributes are absolute, then cannot be shared by anybody else. There is creator and there is creation. There is nothing in between. This is what we Muslims believe, and we should not be shy about it. We should be clear that one of the key beliefs that we have is there is one creator, and everybody and everything else is creation, and there is no status that is in between or halfway. Prophets, angels, etc., they're still creation.
Yeah, but I was also trying to make an important point that, I mean, yes, she said every religion teaches the same morality, which I agree with her. And she said most of the people are good, and they do everything from their heart, from like what she meant must be fitra, from the good of their hearts. But I said in Islam is different. Islam is different. You do for the sake of Allah with submission at his terms. So that makes it, I mean, I didn't say this, that my religion says that, but we were having a general discussion. I said, that is why Islam is different from all the 10,000 religions that are according to the Google. So I think we should project that point.
Yeah, but as long the discussion is that is mutual respect and accepting and not discrediting anybody, because peoples are very emotional about their religion. And we want to win people's hearts, not to offend them. So as long it is respectful, as long between people who know each other, and at the end, after the discussion is over, the relationship will continue. It will not be affected in any way. That's, I think, what we need to keep. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة. So with wisdom, call to Allah with wisdom and the best words. ولا تجادلوا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, ولا تجادلوا أهل الكتاب إلا بالتي هي أحسن. Not only with the good words, but with the best words. Don't argue with the people of the book, except with the best. ولا تجادلوا أهل الكتاب إلا بالتي هي أحسن. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ankabut. So the bottom line is focusing on commonalities. It's a good idea. Believe me, most religions, unless they are politicized, they almost teach the same thing. The problem always happens when religion is injected in the political agenda. That's where the problem, then the religions start to be used for different reasons. The Crusades were not, it was not religious, it was a political. Most of the wars that happened in history, they were political and driven by greed, but they were fought under a religious banner. Why? Because religion can help you mobilize people, mobilize the masses. So if look at any religion, if the person does not politicize their religion, usually you will find them that religion teaches honesty, teach fairness, teach this and that. But then when it is abused or injected into the political agenda, it's not religion anymore. It's a political agenda that is pursued under the banner of religion. That's where most problems happen.
So, Dr. Ganucci, so which country do you think is most practicing from practical point of view, Islamic country? Because you mentioned...
the statistics, the study showed Finland. So, yeah, it was a study. I still trying to locate it. It was Finland came first. And the first Muslim countries were Malaysia at number 16. So 15 non-Muslim countries are applying Islam more than Muslims.
Which Muslim country is on the top practicing the most practical? No, in Muslim countries.
I told you Malaysia came number 16. It's the first one.
So, okay. So, I thought America would be one of those.
I don't know. I don't remember the 15 first, but I remember that the first was Finland.
Okay. Yes, makes sense.
They took the Islamic values and they tried to check where they are applied the most, and they found that they are applied the most in Finland. So Finland is more Islamic than all Muslim countries. Very unfortunate. I mean, you can see this time and again, and we have noticed when we came here that there are a number of things that our deen teaches us that were not applied in the countries where we came from, but we found them applied here.
Dr. Suhail,
yes.
Naming Finland, is it possible, if you remember, what were the things that made it into the top of the list?
I think they took the Islamic akhlaq, manners, again, honesty, compassion, work ethics, number of lists. It has been a long time, but it's the Islamic character or Islamic manners, and they try to apply them to see where they are applied the most. But I don't remember the details of the study, so I should try to locate it. But I was not surprised. I mean, it's unfortunately it's a reality. I mean, it's a reality that, and a lot of, in many cases in Muslim world, things are getting worse, not better. Even though a number of Muslim societies are becoming more religious, but when it comes to behavior and character and muamala, akhlaq and interaction, it's not getting better. And many of you, many of us who go and visit, they know, they feel that the standards is going down, not up. That what used to be shameful last year or a couple of years ago, you go this year and you find it become normal.
What do you say, Dr. Ghaznushi, about the rulers of Afghanistan who apparently are introducing the Taliban in Islam that is not practiced in any other country?
That's a long, it's a big question. And I don't believe in that version of Islam that is preached by Taliban at all. This whole Salafi thing and sticking to, I mean, in just to name a few, I mean, Taliban, they prohibited women from studying. It's part of the constitution or the law. Women should not go out, and if they go out, they have to dress in a very specific way. And I don't think that's this is not the teachings of Islam. I mean, this is a version of Islam that some people embrace, and they are imposing it basically on people. It's not. So this version that says the Salaf and we should not think and we should adopt everything that the Salaf did, whether it is even the way they dress and the way they. I don't think this is going to get them anywhere. By the way, this is not. That's not the version of Islam that's going to inspire anything. And recently, just a couple of days ago, Libya, the Minister of Interior just came up with certain laws. He's going to impose hijab on people, on women, and he's going to apply very drastic measures. These things can never be fixed from the top. These things they have to come up organically. People have to be convinced. I remember the Libyan leader. I mean, I don't know why people keep trying something that did not work. Why you keep trying? Probably you are the only people on earth who keep doing the same thing and expect different results, which is the definition of insanity. Gaddafi, at certain point in time, prohibited alcohol drinking, just from the top. Decision, this is it, this khamr haram, forbidden, prohibited. What happened? People start making it at home. People start drinking this alcohol, rubbing alcohol, mixing it with water. They start fermenting fruits at home. What's the point in it? What is the point? That's why Quran did not fix societies by rules, fix society but by purifying the souls. So the qanun, the law, will be applied on the very small fringes or the minority. But you don't just come and try to fix societies by just rules and the law. It never worked and never will. The Islamic approach is to get the majority to do things out of their conviction, policing themselves. And then, of course, there is the law that applies to the small minority who, in order to keep the society in order. But coming up, I mean, Taliban, they impose themselves. Nobody's electing them. They're not chosen, and they're going to be there forever. And I don't think this political system of people in charge remain forever for life, I don't believe in it. I think the democratic system of leadership by consent, transparency, accountability, limited term limit, etc., I think it's much closer to Islam than these kind of systems.
Can I ask a question, or if somebody has?
And at the end of the day, government is there to serve people, to make the lives of people better. You are not, people don't choose you to be a leader or to govern them.
I mean,
Can you mute yourself, please? People don't choose you to govern them, to become an khatib or admonition, or they leave that for others. I mean, people elect you so that to improve their lives, to make their lives better, to provide better services, better economy, better health, better whatever, better infrastructure, etc. That's what your job. And it's not your job to start telling people how to live and how to think and etc. That's not the role or the responsibility of the people who are in charge.
Yeah. One more question can I ask? If nobody's asking any questions, the thing is this: what I got from the conversation was, in Muslim countries, especially Iran, they're forcing things and driving people away from God. So my question is, what is the way, what is the mechanism, methodology to bring people to love God? Because if you don't carry out the principles, especially halal, haram, which Allah's rules, and being very lenient with people, that will not be fair. And if you are too strict, then you can't give, you can't create love.
And we have one good example. I mean, even though it deviated afterwards, but Turkey, in the beginning of the experience, was very good example. Why very good example? Because these people, the leaders of the AK party, everybody knows they are Islamist. But when they came to power, they didn't talk about religion. They served the country. They served the people. They improved their lives. They took the economy, Turkey economy, which was in deep trouble, and brought it to one of the most successful nowadays economic. And nowadays they're getting even into military manufacturing, etc., also very advanced. So drones and others. So the people of Turkey, even though nobody was telling them about Islam, but in more free environment, Islam was associated with a success story in the minds of people. So we have seen people getting more and more back to Islam. The Turkish population became much more and more religious, even though those who were in charge were not telling people, they were not giving khutbah about Islam, but they showed Islam in action. That I care about you, I have more transparent economy, much less corruption, this and that, more fair, better opportunity. Young people, they start having hope, etc. Usually Islam flourishes in that environment. That's why the Prophet ﷺ was very insisting on establishing peace in the Arabian Peninsula, because he knows that Islam does not flourish in the conditions of war. So when he got that opportunity to sign a treaty with the Quraysh, he did it, even though that treaty on paper was humiliating for Muslims, to the point that some companions did not accept it. Umar ibn Khattab was very angry. Ali ibn Abi Talib did not even want to sign it, did not want to, when the Prophet told him to erase sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, no, I'm not going to erase it. He said, show it to me, I will erase it myself, because Quraysh did not accept that to be part of the treaty. He said, if we believe that you are a prophet, then what's the problem? So we said, no, we're going to keep Muhammad ibn Abdullah. not Rasulullah. So Ali bin Abi Talib refused to erase it, and the Prophet ﷺ said, show it to me, I will erase it myself. Why? Because he knows that Islam as an idea and as a message will flourish and thrive only in an environment of peace. And that's exactly what happened. This happened in the, I think, 6th year after Hijrah. That's 19 years after Islam. In 2 years after that, many more people and tribes came into Islam more than 19 years before. In 2 years of peace, many more people came to Islam. So to answer your question, those who want to call people to Islam, one, they have to be role models, because people, they're going to wait until they see it in action, not talking to them about Islam. Show them Islam, role model, successful, because people don't look up for somebody who's loser or failure. People want to be associated with someone who's successful. Whatever they're doing, successful does not mean very rich or successful. So role model, successful, and then the characters of Islam, the honesty, the compassion, the humbleness, etc. That's what attracts people to Islam at the individual level. At the collective level, what did you do for people? What is your impact for people? Don't tell me about Islam. Take that teachings, those teachings of Islam, translate them into platform or agenda or policy that will impact my life. That's much better message than talking about Islam. So 2 ways to answer your question. One, the responsibility of every individual to be the best ambassador of Islam, to be all you can be, so that you can show Islam, lead by example. And not only role model, but also successful. Yes, people, that's the nature of people. I mean, if you are someone who's failing in life and did not succeed, you're talking to someone who is achiever, they're not going to listen. That's the nature of things. We're not going to twist the human nature. That's the nature of things. People look up to someone who's better than them in akhlaq, in manners, in character, in behavior, but also even in success in life. Hopefully that will add in. And then if there is a group of people, they want to attract the people to Islam, what difference did we make? We come and establish a mosque in a neighborhood or in a city. What happened to that city afterwards? What difference did we make? It's not about talking about what impact did we have? What did we contribute? We come to a country like Muslims were not there before, and then suddenly they come like as a refugee or whatever. What changed? What has changed in that country? So there is no other way. I mean, we can keep talking about Islam and we can say this is the best religion, this is the great, Islam is peace, Islam, etc. People will wait until they see it in action. There is a very good saying that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That applies to religion also. People don't care what you say about religion until they see it in action, until they see it in reality. So what is missing, what we're missing nowadays, it's not like printing Qurans in English, it's not brochures, it's human copies of the Quran. It's like being like the Prophet, walking Quran among people, so that people will see the beauty of this deen before we tell them about it. And that's what happened to Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. That's the most effective way of da'wah. People came to him in jail to ask him why. They said, Inna naraka min al-muhsinin. We see in you something different, something special, something unique. Definitely that has come from his behavior. from his behavior, they show that this is someone who's honest, who's humble, who's compassionate, who's caring, etc. So they said it when they came to him. They said, because we see you as someone special, and he took advantage of it. That's the most effective way of da'wah, when people are attracted to the product, and then they come, they ask you, and do you tell them about the process? You tell them about the process that produced that product. And that's what Yusuf alayhi salam did. He credited everything for religion. He didn't say, this is me and or this is Ram. No, he said, anything good that you see, you may see in me, it is because of my religion.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah.
Can Dr. Sohail in 2 minutes talk about the election and the result of the election, and what about Muslim in after the election?
Like, this is I don't know, unfortunately, and we still fail to read things the right way, and we're still adopting the same approaches. People are talking about the results without numbers, without statistics. Some people are saying it is Muslims who made all the difference, who brought this victory for Trump, etc. Very superficial, cannot be supported by numbers. People say it is Gaza or the war, etc. All of this is not supported by numbers. So I think there are a couple of things that we can learn from this election. Is number one, is that the way the Democrat responded, I like the way they responded, which is where did we fail? So there is a much deeper failure than all these superficial explanations. So it was not because Biden remained for too long. It was not because, I think one of the biggest lessons that we can learn from this is that politics has to go back to the correct approach, which is politicians should say exactly who they are, what they want to do, and let people choose. I think this approach that started a while ago, which is telling people what they want to hear, look at the polls and then craft your message, try to cater to different segments, and that's what the Democrats have been doing, because it is a party of coalition. So they are trying to cater to, and not to offend everybody. I believe one of the biggest lessons in leadership is that you cannot lead that way. You cannot lead by telling people what they want to hear. So and I've seen this, I've said this about Trump even from in the first time, that he is one of those politicians who says it as is, asking for a mandate. This is my agenda. Give me a mandate, I will implement it. So that's one thing. Second is, I think the election revealed a lot about the American society, because there are some people who are debating, this election changed us or revealed us? I think there is sexism in the society. There is racism. In addition to the real problems, there is this immigration problem. It's a real one, and it is not affecting only white people or white working class. It's affecting everybody. One of the surprise or shocks is that even African American and Latinos are not happy with the immigration. They're the legal immigration. They're taking their jobs and they're lowering the wages because they can accept everything if you are illegal. So I think that's probably was underestimated. Another lesson is the fact that this country proves again that it rejects extreme left or extreme right. I think the Democrat, one of the most successful ad in the Trump's campaign was the ad that the Democrat will sponsor, government will sponsor transgender surgery for inmates. They said it ran took 40% of the time, and the numbers they get, the campaign was probably the most effective ad. You can look it up, in which Harris was confirming. Of course, they took only a segment, but was really shocking. Why people are suffering in the gas station and grocery stores, you're telling them about transgender. And that's because Democrat wants to cater to that segment of their coalition. So now for Muslims, I think a lot of lessons need to be learned. The number one should be humble and should not exaggerate, because only 4% of voters cared about foreign policy. That's what the numbers say. So let's not exaggerate. And that has been the case in America forever. Yeah. So that's one. Second, we're going to have to learn that civic engagement, it's much more than politics, and politics is much more than election, and election is much more than presidential election. If we want to be civically engaged, then we have to promote this idea of citizenship, and then exercising our rights and duty all the time, and especially in local election, because presidential election, that's where we have the least impact. And presidential and policies, they're not going to change tremendously. We have seen Democrat and Republican come and go, and we didn't see major changes in policies, especially the policies that matters to us more than others. We didn't see much. So people have to realize that if you want to be civically engaged and politically active, you have to have a platform and keep advocating it, regardless. You win election, you lose election. It doesn't matter, because you should be driven by platform and by agenda. And that agenda, you should keep pushing it on those who win to implement it, and on those who lose, or those who are on the opposition. That's the nature of things. We have to stop thinking about, we'll get involved a few weeks or a couple of months every 4 years for a presidential election. That will not get us anywhere. So people, again, should adopt an effective approach. The effective approach is to be consistent, to be driven by platform, by agenda, regardless who wins or lose. If you like items in the agenda of Trump or the winners or Republican, then now the time to push them to implement it. If you didn't like some items in their agenda, you need to keep opposing it and work with the opposition to oppose it, and vice versa. So we shouldn't be like partisan. We should be more driven by agenda. And I always said that we should never allow ourselves to be taken for granted by anybody. And we should have that freedom to vote the more qualified candidate for that particular job. Yes, Muslims can join parties individually, but as a community, I don't think we need to commit and repeat that mistake of committing to any particular party or any. And we keep basically always looking for, that's even an Islamic duty, which is to select those who are more qualified for that particular job, for that particular position. Now, how much is going to change? I don't think there is much is going to change. I think the election in the United States became more like a business season. It's a shopping season. There are a lot of businesses, they work in this election during the election season. So I don't think we're going to see drastic changes or differences, except the usual. There's some typical Republican agendas at cutting on a number of social programs, trying to give incentive to businesses to create jobs because that's their agenda. And that it has been that pendulum all the time. It is that Republicans are about balancing budgets, are about cutting on spending, reducing the debt, etc., and helping money to trickle down by helping businesses create jobs. Democrat, on the other side, they believe in those safety net and social network, etc. So, and people have been oscillating between the two, and when they don't like their situation, they go for change. And people are not happy with the current situation. I think more than 3/4 of Americans, they say the country is not on the right track. On the other hand, a couple of more things. One is that this country is not ready to elect a woman president and is not ready to elect a minority president. I think Obama was and will remain for a long time the exception, not the norm. And number two is the importance of communication. The winners were the ones who mastered the news cycle and how they capitalized on the new mechanisms of media. People are no longer relying on the mainstream media. People relying on the podcasts. And Trump was in so many podcasts that was watched by tens of millions. Having an interview with the CBS or the Fox, etc., does not cut it anymore. That's another big lesson. Failure of the Democrat even to communicate their achievement. That was really an amazing failure. They were not able. The American economy is much better than all the Western economies and developed economies. There is a global crisis, but it affected this country the least. But people did not hear that. People kept hearing about abortion and about this and that and bashing Trump, but that did not click with the people. So, number of lessons, but again, I like the approach of that Islam teaches us to adopt. When things go wrong, you only have yourself to blame. And by the way, that happens for Republicans before. When Mitt Romney lost to Obama, I believe, and there was also a wave similar to this, and the people, they went into the drawing board, they say, and ask what went wrong. Where did we go wrong? Amen. And this time, I think the campaign was much more successful in building a coalition and talking to the people, the language, their language. Trump appears much more real to people than the crafted elitist message that coming from a Democratic candidate. He's a populist, but that's the wave in the whole world nowadays. I mean, France was so close to have a wave like this. It was aborted at the last minute, but there was a wave of the French right to have like landslide in a recent election. So that's a global phenomenon. And again, talking to people about the issues that matter to them. And this elitist message does not win you a popular election. It can work in universities, in think tanks, etc., but it doesn't click with the masses.
جزاك الله كل خير دكتور سهيل, and see you next Sunday. السلام
Salam.
عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Salam.